So then the third skill that I wanted to talk about is problem framing. We talked a little bit already about structured thinking, but structured thinking was around anything that you do as a product manager. You would want to use a framework just to make your life easier and to make to help others understand your thought process. When we talk about problem framing, we are talking specifically about tackling product decisions. So basically, I think in one of the previous videos of this course, we talked about the problem space. So as a product manager, it's not necessarily your job to come up with solutions, but to own the problem space, meaning there is a certain problem that your company or your product wishes to solve. And your job, it might not be to come up with a solution, but you will be presented with these problems every day. So then problem framing is around how do you tackle those problems. So let's say there is some issue with your product. You get feedback from maybe your customer support team and say, oh, our users, they are experiencing this issue suddenly. So then at this point, you wouldn't know what exactly the problem is, but you would have to figure it out. You would have to know what's happening. It would be too easy to just jump to the solution and saying, oh, our customers are facing an issue. It's a customer experience problem. Let's fix this thing here, when you haven't even properly framed the problem. So there are several cues or several questions that you can ask yourself that help you investigate. And it might change depending on what product you're working on. But things that you can ask yourself is, for example, have you understood the problem? So things you can investigate is, when did this problem first start occurring and what happened around that time? For example, did we release a new version of the app, or did a competitor come into the market and launched a new feature that now suddenly leads to your metrics dropping? The second question you would ask yourself is, are you solving the right problem? So who are actually the users facing the problem? It could be that it's only new users or only users that have a certain property that use a certain part of your product. And that would then allow you to figure out how big is the problem and should you actually prioritize it. It's a very different question whether something affects one user, few users, many users, or all users. And then the last question you could ask yourself, is now the right time to solve the problem? So what is the cost of not solving the problem versus solving it right now? And that kind of helps you then put any problem that people come up to you into perspective. And once you decided you go ahead with it, then you can use any of those mental models from structured thinking to then frame your problem even more, basically break it down into a solution.